Hello and welcome everyone, it's VinRock39 here. I'm posting a former video I had up and I removed it. It's a build that I called affectionately the Invisible Man build. Mainly because it's utilizing the ability that the Burglar perk deck has, where you're less detectable or you're less likely to be targeted by your enemies, and it's relative to staying crouched a lot, so you gotta stay crouched most of the time, stay still a lot. But once you find your little camping spots, this build is really ridiculous. It has a pretty good amount of dodge as well as the ability to almost go unseen, so that's why I call it the Invisible Man. But here, let me show you the build and what I did. And this time I did make this build with no DLC whatsoever when it came to the gun mods, but I will show you how I would use it because I do own all the DLC. So the only thing that players that don't have the big score or any DLC won't be able to do is use the character of Soko. Pretty much that's about it. But here we'll start with the guns. Well, no, I'll go with the build. Really the perk deck is kind of important, so I'll start there and let's see where it takes us. Really the Burglar perk deck gives you so much dodge and so many chances to not be targeted that it's kind of cool. Here, sneaky, you get 20% increase dodge. Bear with me if my math is off. Standing still and crouching decreases your chances of being targeted by 10, and there's another couple that are going to stack. Not to mention you can bag corpses faster, but those are the stealth elements that I'm not really trying to focus on. Here's another skill that increases your chance to dodge by 5% again, and your chance to be targeted while standing still and crouching is decreased by another 5%. So here again, Dodge Courage, your chance to dodge is increased by another 5, and your chance to be targeted while standing still. You see what's going on? And once again, in the final, your standing still and crouching increases your armor recovery rate by 20%. So if you're spending most of your time standing still and crouching with this perk deck while you're unlocked, you're going to be pretty near invisible, and you're going to have a armor recovery rate that's really fast. And not to mention you can move pretty quick while crouching, so you don't even have to stand up half the time. But that's the gist of the perk deck. Now the skills that I use kind of take advantage of those main things about armor recovery and the less likely to be targeted. But we'll get to that when we get to it. Here in Mastermind, I take a few medic skills because this isn't a health regenerative perk deck like Grinder, which is my favorite of all of them. But you need some things to be able to keep your health up, so I gave myself the opportunity to bring some first aid kits if necessary. It's not maxed out. They're not the kind that you can, just absorb when your health goes away, but you have a means to give yourself some health back. Excuse me. Also here in controller, as you can see, I took a lot of skills to get hostage taker ace. I love being able to regenerate health one way or another, and this is one way that I've found that this perk deck can be used by me and really do okay with. But here I take friendship basic. I ace confident because having 2 jokers with this build worked way better than having one super strong joker. Like, this is how I had it during tests, and it gave me a couple extra points back, but it's really more useful to have it set up like this because the jokers are still strong enough to last through most of the mission. You can get 2 of them, and 2 of them is more of a distraction, and if you're surrounded by other people who are more detectable than you, Invisible Man. So that's why I highly recommend keeping 2 jokers. As you see, no shotgun skills. Now that could be modified with what I have allocated to the assault rifle, but I'll get into that briefly after I'm done. This could become a long video if I do this all day. Now here in tank, resilience basic, transporter basic, and shock and awe basic. I'm not really trying to get into heavy armor, so I'm not even trying to boost any armor. Actually, I'm staying in a two-piece suit. Now this resilience skill being basic, since you're crouching and standing still to avoid being detected, if the flashbang goes off and you're already doing that, just hang out. The lights might come back on and you'll be able to fight. So that's it. And now this is adding to the armor recovery, so that's 15, and then you figure another 25 here, so you got 40 armor recovery right there by itself. And if we go back to the perk deck, and I should have did all this math already, you got another 20 here by sitting still and crouching, so you've got a really fast armor recovery rate here with what, 40 and 20, 60. That's really fast. Not like it's that important, but it is just taking advantage of the skills the perk deck allows us. Now here, this was just to get up there. If you were to not want to throw bags and put it on die hard basic, that's fine. If you wanted to say heck with shock and awe and go bullseye, that's fine. But I chose to go with it with the intentions of, in case we're doing a mission that has back throwing, I'd rather do that because I'm not going to interact with too many things anyway. Besides, if I'm invisible to the guys, I'm not really worried about interacting with objects and taking damage. I took one extra point, put it on scavenger, and being able to pick up ammo boxes at a greater distance is a bit of an advantage. Here, an engineer, jack of all trades. I get up there cheapest way possible. This is 12 points. If you don't use jack of all trades, you can do other things with those 12 points. Feel free to manipulate the build as you will. I do recommend leaving it like this until you figure out if you can get down with a build like this. Tweak them. Remember, these are for everyone. Find what works for you. Throw out all the garbage that I'm doing for me, because what I do might not work for you, especially with a build that I've optimized for my style of play. Alright, enough of that. Now back to the skills. In oppressor, I ace steady grip, 8 weapon accuracy, and 16 weapon stability. Might be a bit overkill for some players, but I really like the fact that with the primary I'm using, these skills really make that weapon insanely useful. I can't say it anymore. It's just really good. And for a free weapon, you'd be surprised. I mean, it's incredible what you can do with that thing. Now here I jumped all the way up to lock and load ace. It's not so much to hip fire and sprint, it's so I can get a faster reload by killing 2 enemies with an SMG, LMG, assault rifle, or special weapon. It also works with the auto firing shotguns too. Don't ask me why, but that skill does work with auto firing shotguns. Now that's the reason why I can use just about any assault rifle that I can keep the detection risk really low with, through high concealment of course. I can just really kill really quick with kill 2 enemies and reload extremely fast. No matter how slow the reload is, it's going to be always faster. And even if there's a trick to this with all the numbers, but in its worst, the lowest amount of reload time you're going to increase is 40%, and that's just as good as, if not better than, most reload skills anyway. So it's not a bad idea to have this skill if you're using an auto firing weapon like I'll be using. Now here, surefire ace. This is good because it gives you 15 more bullets in the magazine for the SMGs, LMGs, and assault rifles. And that's a good thing. Extra rounds is good, but it's not so important as it is the ace version of this, where your ranged weapons can now pierce through enemy body armor. This doesn't apply to throwable weapons, obviously. It shows that there in the note. But the ranged weapons that can pierce body armor now, that's important, because if you're not as accurate as some and you're not shooting heads, some of the guards are wearing body armor, not shields. Don't confuse the two. The body armor they're wearing will take the damage and break if you didn't have some form of armor piercing. Like Grinder has natural armor piercing. I think it's a 20% chance or 15% chance. But when you have this skill, you're guaranteeing all your rounds to armor pierce, so that's a good thing. And then body expertise. This adds a 30% bonus headshot damage to hitting the enemy anywhere, but you have to use auto fire weapons. So that's kind of why I'm using these skills, because the weapon I'm using is the Clarion rifle, and I will be using it in auto fire. But that's how you can do that. Now I could show you some other things with the weapons, but I'm going to keep straight with this. And then Ghost, this is a typical dodge build. If you're using dodge, you know what this is. Everybody's using this. You might even dummy it down and take away inner pockets, but I had to do this for the players who don't have all the DLC. It's a purpose behind this. I'm acing duck and cover. That increased dodge when you're running is even more stacked on top of what you're going to have using these skills the way they are here. And parkour, I'm acing that one. Running and reloading is kind of cool, but it's really just to get up to the top of the tree, really. Inner pocket's basic. Like I said, that can be taken or leave it, but I'm going to take it for this particular demonstration. Now, Shockproof, these two skills, I really don't even care about them. I'm just trying to get up here. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I could do this and then get rid of these two and do this if I wanted to, but I'm not using body armor or any ballistic vest, so there's no point in doing that. And I'm going to use those 6 points that I would waste here, and then get Sneaky Bastard, which is really the secret to getting more dodge when your detection risk is low enough. If you're going to be at 25 or higher, or around 25, if you want to get the maximum benefit of your dodge skill, you'll have to ace Sneaky Bastard. It's very similar to acing low blow. They kind of work very similar. If your detection risk is low enough, you don't need to ace low blow or Sneaky Bastard. But if you're going to be higher than 5 or in between 10 and 25, I would recommend acing both of those skills if you're trying to use them at the same time. But that can get costly in skill points. But this is how you really get all the dodge you possibly can. Okay, that's just it. This is for concealment of your melee weapon, and then I'll explain that later, but you'll see what I'm getting at. I'm sure it'll come clear after I'm done. Now here in Second Wind and Silent Killer, that's to get up here and ace optical illusions. This is the 35% less likely to be targeted by enemies on top of what you already are through the perk deck with Burglar. So, Invisible Man. I can't say it. I love saying it, really. And on top of that, I'm using the ace portion of this to conceal my silenced weapons, which I am using silencers because I can get more accuracy with them. I can be less detectable. That's the point. And with this build, you want to be less detectable. Going loud with 75 detection risk, from the tests I've done and conducted with the same build, just different weapons, and didn't restrict myself through any concealment because of low blow or Sneaky Bastard. And either way, I succeeded way more when the weapons were silenced than I did when they were loud. I mean, extremely loud. So less detection, in my opinion, is the way to go if you don't want to deal with being shot up. If you're wearing heavy body armor, then fine. I don't think it would be an issue, but I never use body armor any more than the lightweight ballistic vest. So that's maybe my own shortcoming, but that's my choice, and I found that I'm more effective without having guns, without this, and having a 75 detection risk and still using all the benefits of whatever skills I have. That's just my opinion. Once again, I'm getting off the beaten path. And then here, low blow, but my detection risk is low enough, may as well get that 30% chance of critical hits while I'm shooting at the enemies. I did take 1 point and put it in martial arts because you're not wearing any armor, and sometimes they do notice you, and if they're up close, they melee you, and it takes a lot of damage. You know, it does a lot of damage to you. So having this skill allows you to take it and still be able to fight a little bit more. So that's the build. Now the weapons, that's the catch. I'm using the Clarion rifle. It's an assault rifle, It's a pretty nasty primary, and I'll show you how I modified it. And it's pretty much got everything that's going to make it concealable, and yeah, concealable. So here I chose the suppressed barrel. There is an option in the barrels for it. You do have another option that I'll show you. It's the short barrel, and I would go for the bigger the better suppressor. But you'll gain a little more damage, but you lose a bit of accuracy. So I decided to go with the suppressor that's designed for the weapon, and the accuracy is 72. The damage isn't so bad, and besides, when you're stacking it with body expertise and low blow, you could have a 30 in your damage and still do ridiculous amount of killing. It's insane what you can do with critical builds. Now here, this is one of those rare weapons out of several. I think there's about 4 to 5 that can use a concealment boost higher than the normal +1 concealment. This one has a +3 concealment. I definitely recommend it if you're going to go basic low blow and basic sneaky bastard. So I'm using that. Here, nothing in custom. I'm using a compact laser module for point of reference if I'm hip firing. The grip, it's the G2 grip. It comes only for this gun, or it's a mod for this gun. It does cost you a bit of concealment, but as you see, my detection risk is still under 4, and it gives me way more stability and accuracy, which is what I want with this gun. And I did equip a Seymour sight. You can use any sight you like. This is the sight of my choice. If you want to remove that sight, you're fine. Your detection risk will be 3, but you can rest assured knowing that you can have a sight on this weapon the way it's modded, the way this build is done, and still be able to get your maximum benefit of low blow and your dodge from sneaky bastard, because you're not above 5 in your detection risk. So that's the primary, and with it being really stable and that accurate, it's just like a sewing machine. So smooth, it barely bounces. I mean, it just shoots frozen ropes. It just ropes. It's really good. The rate of fire on this thing is 1,000, so it's really sick what you're gonna do with this thing. Now here I have a Judge secondary. Now for the people who don't have DLC, this is why I did this way. First and foremost, I chose the HE rounds, the high explosive rounds. They're harder to pick up in game, but if you don't go crazy and use this weapon just to be using it, you're gonna have no problem keeping this thing in working order. I did choose a suppressor because if I didn't, then the detection risk would go up. If I chose one of these, it would go up even higher. So because of the skills in the build, there's optical illusions ace is allowing me to benefit from having a silencer, so why not use it, even though you're using it with an explosive round. It's not for stealth when you're using it with those. The boost, I did choose a concealment boost. The gadget is a compact laser module for the point of reference, and I did put a sight on this one in case you need to reach out and shoot something far away with that explosive round. A sight is very useful, so that's that weapon. Now the melee, it's El Verdugo. It's from when we were introduced to Sangres in the Sicario perk deck. It was a free weapon that came to us. It's available, so anyone can use it. You don't need DLC. And the reason for it is it's one of the higher concealable melee weapons with a damage number of 70. So that's a good option. If you didn't want to use El Verdugo, you can opt for something like the electrical brass knuckles, which interrupts the enemy. It does show that this is a hardcore Henry heist item. It is in the DLC stuff, but Jimmy came to us free, so everyone can access these brass knuckles, and that's going to give you even higher concealment, so you'll be able to benefit from a few other things. If you're going to use that, then you can come over here and get rid of this and run at a 6 at the risk of having 1 less dodge and 1 less or 3 less % of getting critical hits. So instead of 30%, you'll be getting 27%. So, but once again, I'm making this build in mind for those who don't have any DLC. And you can use the electrical brass knuckles or the El Verdugo. It's up to you, really. I just wanted to give you those two options because one is 70 in damage and this one interrupts the enemy. So you got choices. And the Matryoshka grenade. I decided to put this one up here mainly because of Soko. He's Russian. And I guess Matryoshka is Russian. At least they talk about the motherland, and I guess that's for Russia. But either of these melees, these throwables are fine. These are all DLC. So if you don't have any DLC, these won't be available. I chose this one just because I was being clever. If you guys are clowning, rather, I wasn't clever. If you want to burn things, incendiary grenades are alright. They don't last as long as these, but they still get the job done. They'll set multiple people on fire if you throw them in a crowd. But explosives seem to work fine too. The concussion grenades I'm not too fond of. They do stun them for a while and you can run away, but I'd rather hurt them and then shoot them instead of blind them and then shoot everyone. But that's just a preference. Now the equipment, since you're running jack of all trades, you can take a few other items. You can go with first aid kits because we have the ability to bring 11 of those. You can go with a doctor bag secondary, ammo bag secondary. If you trip mines, you don't have many, but you can bring a few. It's not that many, but I think you understand what I'm getting at. You can bring ammo and health and health and health, whatever you want. Two-piece suit. If you put any armor on, you're just taking away your dodge and it limits the build. So yeah, you have to run around two-piece suit, but if you stay squatting, crouched, and still, you'll be amazed at what you can do without anyone realizing before it's too late. Really, that's all it is. They're going to realize what you're doing and it's going to be too late. Now, the options for those of you who don't want to use assault rifles, I'm going to show you something that some of you may not be aware of or you might already know. This should be enough points to ace some shotgun skills. And there you have it. Now, if you really want to get technical, you can go full-blown bad daddy here. You won't get the ammo pickup. So you can turn it into a shotgun build just that quick. You won't have the armor piercing. Remember that. So you have to aim for the head more with your shotguns, but you can do shotguns. And if that's the case, I happen to have some shotguns modded for this particular occasion. Let's see. I can put this one here and this judge here. And this is a silenced shotgun. This is a silenced judge. It works. So you still run a detection risk of 4 using the ISMA. Bear in mind this ISMA is related to a couple pieces of DLC. So if you have DLC, feel free. If you have DLC, you can also use the Dragon's Breath rounds with your judge. Here, I'll show you guys what I did with the ISMA real quick. Hopefully I don't take forever to shoot this video. Triple odd buckshot. The short barrel, that's DLC. The silent killer suppressor. Concealment boost. This is also DLC, the hollow handle. Compact laser module. The AK rubber grip. Big Brother mag. That's overkill actually, don't need it, but my detection risk is staying at 4, so why not have the extra rounds. No sight with this particular shotgun. It's clean, straight over the top view for me, so I don't need it. And I did choose the skeletal stock for the final mod for that one. Now the judge, if you're not using DLC, if you can use DLC, I use it this way with the Dragon's Breath round. No barrel extension, a concealment boost, a compact laser module, and no sight. It's a little less accurate, but I enjoy burning people with my grinder build. But like I said, I did it without any DLC for you guys and ladies to begin with, so that's the build. But if you're going to go with shotguns, you got a better chance of not getting those hits that you're looking for through the Surefire Ace skill. So I'm gonna go back and hit that up. And that was pretty much the build. I hope everybody finds that useful. And Samoan dude, this is for you. I actually went back and checked and realized, man, I didn't have that build up anymore. I took it down because I took it down. So I think it was outdated. But this is a way you guys and ladies can use the Burglar Perk Deck in a loud mission and have fun. I think it's a really good build. As always, take care, be well, and good games, everyone.